sense? Because of time restraints, I'm not able to do that now, but I did it before you guys got here. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to go over some of the topics that I kept hearing, and I'm going to do my best to weave that in there. Does that make sense? And as long as we're on point in topic, I will do the best I can to insert your needs into this next hour. Make sense? Perfect. So we have Ben. Ben had told me earlier that he really truly wants to be able to handle rejection. Is that important to all of us? Be able to handle rejection, right? I spoke to Karen. Karen said, you know what, I have an elderly couple that's having a hard time with sense of urgency. So Joey, I don't really know how to handle that. You know, they're an older couple. They want to move up to the Sacramento area that's where we sell real estate. So if you need some referral partners, we can do that for you. And I said, well, you know what, Karen, we need to make sure that we help them fall in love with where they're going in order to feel good about leaving where they are. Does that make sense? I would write that script down. Because the biggest challenge we have when we take listings is we're talking about selling homes. When somebody says they want to sell their home, that's not what we talk about. We talk about helping them fall in love with where they're going in order to feel good about leaving where they are. Does that make sense? Great. If that makes sense, say that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Perfect. Victoria had talked to me earlier about the ability to negotiate. So we're going to talk about some negotiating. I'm going to weave that in there as well. Michael had talked to me a little bit about buyer urgency. So we're going to intertwine some of that. And Sadhna had talked about mindset, about needing a stronger mindset in order to move forward. Does that make sense? And then Derek has, he's in his hands in a lot of different arenas. He's a bartender. He does a lot of social events. He wants to make better use of every opportunity he's in front of someone. Does that make sense? So we're going to talk a little bit about the principle of always being on stage. And a few more. Boy, I have enough content for 8 hours, but I only have till 11. Jaime talked about his need for sharpening skills. I'm going to weave some of that in there. Don was, how do I get business without spending money? We're going to weave some of that in there as well. Allison King, how do I get more listings? Use of every rep. What I kept hearing over and over today is, how do I make better use of my daily routines? Does that make sense? How do I make better use of every interaction I have? Here's the thing. The bottom line is, guys, we're always on stage. From the moment we leave our front door to the moment we come back. Does that make sense? How well are we doing at every interaction? One thing I've taught a lot of my students is, we're always on the prowl. We're either looking for buyers, we're looking for sellers, or I'm looking for people to get into business with. Do you think if you could just make that just tiny little tweak in your communication skills, do you guys think you get more deals? Yes or no?
Yes.
Perfect. So that's what we're going to dive into today. And so my name is Joey Satariano. I've been started up with Nordstrom's. I was with them about 15 years. They raised me as a child in the business world. So he taught me a lot about sales and also about service. Ventured into real estate, and sure enough, my passion for teaching and speaking followed me there. And been doing this now for about 15 years. And as Keith was saying, I've trained over 10,000 people. But I want to just kind of share with you some really important points. I'm going to share with you guys some ideas today that some you may agree with. So I want you to understand that I'm not asking you to agree with everything that I say. Matter of fact, there's going to be a lot of things that you might not agree with, okay? And that's okay. I'm not going to ask you to believe everything I'm saying. You might believe some things, you might not. You might think it might not work for your market. But what I can tell you is, I'm going to share some powerful ideas with you. And I just ask you to look at these powerful ideas like a buffet. Does that make sense? So as you're going down a buffet, if you see something you like, take some of it. Just walk down the buffet line. If you don't see what you like or something you don't agree with, just push it aside and leave it for someone else. Is that fair? If that's fair, say that's fair.
That's fair.
Perfect. So let's jump right in. Everybody have a manual?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, being that I'm a very high D personality, how many high Ds in the room? How many people don't know what high D means?
I don't.
High D are the driver mentality. They have a mission to do, and a lot of times they offend people and have no idea, but they have a mission to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because of that, if I get off track, somebody just say, Joey, you're off track, and we'll get right back into it. Number one point that we're going to go over today is setting and sustaining a strong mindset. Guys, we're in a pretty good market right now, right? right? I think that like 99% of the people I talked to today is that we're in a great market. 1% said we're not in a good market.
Yeah.
The only market that we have to be concerned about is the market we have control over. Does that make sense? So let's jump right into that. How many of you heard of Tony Robbins?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me try that again. How many of you heard of Tony Robbins?
Yes.
Jim Rohn has a powerful quote. Powerful quote. It's the first line on this manual. Work harder on you than you do at your work. Work harder on you than you do in your work. What does that mean? Someone, quickly, what does that mean?
It means you have to educate yourself.
Educate yourself. Okay, perfect. Anyone else? What does that mean?
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself. Anyone else?
Keep yourself healthy.
Keep yourself healthy. Anyone else? If Jim Rohn has been able to train and help one of the most powerful speakers all over the world, do you think he has some wisdom? But what does that mean to you when I say work harder on you than you do on your work? What it really means is your work, you're only going to be as good at your work as you are as an individual. Does that make sense? So what are you doing on a daily basis to make sure, line number 2, you're creating feelings of progression? If you have a regimen where you're constantly reading and growing, you're going to create feelings of progression. How many in this room want to feel like they're progressing daily?
Yep.
What are you doing to cause that to happen? What are we doing to cause that to happen? Setting goals, right? What else can we do to that? We can read, we can study, right? The bottom line is that the road to success is a lonely path. And what I say that as you continue to grow and become successful, you'll end up outgrowing the people in your circle, right? Right or wrong? I got like 3 people, right? So with that in mind, your circle becomes bombarding your mind with brilliance. There are so many millionaires out there and billionaires out there that can teach you concepts. The question is, what are you doing to create feelings of progression each and every day? Make sense? Next line is my PGR. What is my PGR? Equals personal growth regimen. Every morning I get up, guys, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning thinking, you know what, I have an agenda for everyone, but it's not, I would write this down, it's not about me, it's always about them, right? I wanted to make sure that I can bring something to all of you today that can make a shift in your career. Does that make sense? When I go to a free event, I bring so much value that people want to invite me back. Is that okay? Yeah. How well are we doing that in our profession? Would you guys agree that our industry is under somewhat of an attack?
Yes.
Let me ask that again. Would you guys agree that our industry as a whole is under some kind of attack?
Yes.
What are we doing to combat that?
Not much.
Are we saying all the things that the internet is saying about our industry? Right? Because in a lot of ways, the internet is trying to replace the individual agent. I think that's an attempt. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But the question I have for us is, what are we doing as professionals to build so much value that no one can replace us? Does that make sense? Personal growth regimen. Guys, work harder. We have to work harder on us so we can be better at our work. Okay? Perfect. Is that worth your admission yet? You guys feel like you getting what your money is paid for? Perfect. Next piece. What is our commitment to mastery? What does mastery mean to all of you? What does mastery mean? Perfection. Close. What does mastery mean?
Confidence.
Interpersonal skills is part of mastery. What else?
Confidence in what we're doing.
Confidence in what you're doing. Absolutely. What else is mastery?
Knowledge.
When you talk about mastery. Commitment. Okay. Tell me more. I think this is my water. I'm going to move that little camera recorder there real quick so I can get my water. What's that? Consistency. What else does mastery mean?
We need to be expert in our profession.
Need to be experts in our profession. What else? You know why I keep asking what else? It's never the thing. It's never the first answer to your question. It's always the thing under the thing under the thing. The more and more you peel with each and every one of your clients, the more and more you're going to get the driving reason why they want to sell or buy. Does that make sense? I keep asking the same thing. John Maxwell said years ago in one of his books, every great idea is the offspring of other good ideas. But if I don't keep asking and healing and saying, what's important about this move? What is it going to do for you? And I don't keep digging, I'm not really going to know what he wants. Does that make sense? I'm not really going to help him ride down the road of self-discovery. Because if I ask him more and more questions, he ends up selling himself on his own ideas. And I don't get in the way. Does that make sense? Mastery. What else does mastery mean to you guys?
You control the situation.
You control the situation. What else does mastery mean? Come on, guys. This is a mastermind.
That you're always being on top of the latest technologies.
Absolutely. On top, cutting-edge technology. What else does mastery mean?
But you're more knowledgeable than the public.
More knowledgeable than the public, or more knowledgeable than what the public makes you sound like you are. The average agent sells how many homes a year?
2.
2. I'm going to give a little more credit. I'm going to say 3 to 4. Is that fair? Okay. Do you think if you're selling 3 to 4 homes a year, are you a master?
No.
The reason a lot of folks are only selling 3 to 4 home years is they're not pursuing mastery. Does that make sense? I had a billionaire that I had the opportunity of doing some coaching with out in Texas. And he said, Joey, he says, we're all hypocrites. Whoa, I can't say that to a group of people. He goes, but it's true. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, Joey, when we go to see an attorney or we go see a doctor or an accountant, we expect them to be masters at their craft, but we're not even taking the time to become masters at ours. Does that make sense? Ouch. So I'm going to tell you a quick little story of how I got reminded that. When you declare to the world that you want to be a speaker, be really careful because you will have a lot of things to talk about. Does that make sense? I had this abscess that happened around my belt line. And I'm telling you, it swelled up like a golf ball. And, you know, most men won't admit this. We don't like to go to the doctors. We wait till like the leg is ready to fall off before we actually go see a doctor. So I'm going in the pool. I'm doing everything I can to just try to relieve a lot of this pain that I was having. Went to the doctors, and I was hoping the doctors were going to tell me that they knew what it was. Because at this point, it could be a growth, an alien, I don't know what the heck it was, right? So I went over there, and the doctor looked at it, and the doctor knew right off the bat that what it was. And the first thing she said is, oh, we just need to cut it open. Well, I don't like the word cutting. I'm bracing my hands on the seat going, man, am I going to be able to get through this? The moment she cuts into me, I feel better immediately.
Wow.
3 hours later, it's the Saturday before Father's Day. I'm going out, Dad, let's go to Sears. They're closing down. Instead of me buying something that I think you want, Dad, just pick out what you want. Everything's great, right? By Wednesday, it came back. By Wednesday. So I went back, and now it hurts more than the first time. I walk in there, and the doctor's looking at me and stuff, and the other doctor wasn't present. He said, well, did they do a culture? I said, well, what do you mean? He said, did they test it? No, actually, that was a nurse assistant. I said, no. The doctor came in and asked me the same question, did a culture? I said, Doc, what are you saying? What I'm saying is, if they didn't do a culture, then we don't know if we killed the bacteria. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, we're going to have to cut you open again. What? Right? So he did what he needed to do, and this time, he cut me open. And after he cut me open, at the end, he gives me like this prescription for painkillers. He said, just in case, if the pain is too unbearable, go ahead and take this. I go, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. On Sunday, 3 hours later, I was out shopping. But boy, when I got to the pharmacy to get that prescription, I could not even stand in line. It was so painful. I had pain over the whole front of my abdomen. Ladies are going to laugh at this. I had so much pain. Because, men don't have tolerance for pain. You guys agree? We make you guys believe that, but we really don't have tolerance for pain, right? I felt pain across my whole abdomen. The cut was this big. It was this big. I said, Doc, why are you giving me painkillers? He says, because I needed to go deeper. So here I have a question for you. How deep are you going in your personal growth? How deep are you going in your personal growth? How deep are you going with your buyers and your sellers to actually draw out of them what matters? Does that make sense? Yeah. I had someone earlier tell me, Allison had shared with me that she wanted to get more listings. And I have this concept that I say that every time you turn yourself over to the service of other people, the person in front of you, the right script, the right dialogue, and the right approach drops right in. Try it one time. Trust me, it works. As she's talking to me, I hear in my head, she needs to talk to her buyer. She needs to talk about buying. When somebody said they want to sell their home, that doesn't mean we talk about selling their home. They're not ready to talk about selling their home. They're ready to do what? Are you guys listening? What are they ready to do? They want to fall in love with where they're
Going.
in order to feel good about where they're leaving from, right? So the bottom line is if we want to get more listings, we need to be so good at our buyer's consultation on peeling the motivation. Because after we get that down, then we get them excited about it. Boy, we don't have to worry about building value on listings. I know right now you guys are in a really competitive market. And the more competitive market you're in, the more value you have to bring. You guys with me?
Yes.
Is the industries in our world today always bringing more and more value? Netflix is not really going up, right, in price. Not really. But what are they doing? They're giving us more and more movies, more and more value, and the money's not coming up. So what does that mean? We have to give more and more and more value. What does that value look like? You know what? Write this down. People know what they want, but they don't know what they need. People know what they want, they don't know what they need. Well, how do you know that, Joey? The coaching and training industry is a billion-dollar industry. You know why? Because people don't know what they need, they know what they want. They want more money. They want to build a bigger business, but they don't know what they need, and they need somebody to help them out. Does that make sense? Why am I saying that? When a homeowner comes out to you, or a home buyer or home seller comes out to you, they know what they want, but they don't know what they need. Does that make sense? We have to become masters in our craft of uncovering what they need. Does that make sense? Joey, where are you going with this? I told you guys to tell me if I get off point. No one's telling me I get off point. What I'm trying to say is this, is the more you help them uncover what they're what they need, as soon as they tilt their head and they say, I never really thought about that, they're yours. You guys with me? So until they tilt their head and say, I never thought about that, you're not done. Does that make sense? I see some head tilting already. You guys are normally the same thing to you guys. It make sense? Yeah. That makes sense. Say that makes sense. Perfect, perfect. So let's keep moving. Next piece is tips on how to close more sales. Tips how to close more sales. Well, Joey, you know, when you hear these terms, because remember I told you, you guys give them what they want, and then when they show up, you give them what they need. Well, what you guys wanted to know was how to get more sales, right? Am I the only one that the topic is more close, more sales?
Yes,
right?
got it.
Let me ask that again. You guys came because you want more sales, right?
Yes.
Did you know what to expect?
Uh,
Oh, we're probably just going to say the same thing, right? Write this down. The message doesn't change, but the approach to delivering it does. What is your approach to delivering the message, right? So number one, in order to close more sales, we must be more effective at speaking to the most unspoken conversations in the minds of our buyers and our sellers. The most unspoken conversation. What does that mean, Joey? What are they thinking that they're not talking about? I was in a listing appointment yesterday, going through the whole appointment. At the end, the guy, first time I met him, he signs the contract. As soon as he's done, he goes, and he leans back. And I'm like, what in the world is going on, right? The wife turns to me and says, Joey, he's scared. So write that. Point number one is how well are we at combating somebody's fears? What are the most common fears that our buyers and sellers are going through? What is our most common fears that the buyers and sellers are going to? Please. Change. Change is huge. How about the fear of, can I trust who's in front of me? Is that a fear?
yes.
I'm afraid I'm going to make mistakes. Right? I'm afraid I'm going to give my house away. Right? Because, you know, with the cost of one of your garages, I can sell like a 5,000 square foot home in Sacramento. So if you guys are tired of spending that kind of money for a garage, come on up. I'll sell you a 5,000 square foot home. Anyways, there's fears. How well is our presentations at inserting the fears? Right? And addressing the fears. Is fear something that normally come up? Yes or no?
Yes.
You guys are still sleeping. Our fears, do they often come up in our presentation? Yes or no?
Yes.
The question, the answer, guys, is the actual fear, the driving fears, in most cases don't come up. The driving fears. So the thing is, we need to understand the most common fears that our buyers and sellers have and incorporate them in our presentation. Let me give you an example. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when it comes to selling property, my opinion doesn't matter. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? What I want to do, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want to look at all the numbers, and let's join hands, and let's see the story that the numbers are trying to give us. Does that make sense? Because at the end of the day, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my opinion doesn't matter. So I can tell you when I evaluate property, my opinion's not in it. Why would I want to say that? Because my opinion doesn't matter, right? Because if I put my opinion in, they're going to argue with my opinion, right? So am I sitting next to them saying, let's look at these numbers together, or am I playing tug of war with them? Look at it together, right? So I know you guys get multiple offers. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, well, you know, I train thousands of agents across the nation, and I tell agents all the time, when a seller says they want top dollar, they really don't know what that means. They don't know what that means. Well, what do you mean, Joey? Well, top dollar to you, and top dollar to you, and top dollar to you, is it all different? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's all different, right? What a seller wants is a seller wants to be convinced they got top dollar. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my goal as your agent is to help you interpret numbers, position your home on the market to create a frenzy. And when we get multiple offers on a property, then we really know what a buyer's willing to pay. Then after we know what a buyer's willing to pay, it's up to me, somebody said something about negotiating earlier, it's up to me to drive that price higher and higher. And at the end of the day, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I believe that when we get multiple offers on a property, we have convinced our sellers that we squeeze as much out of the property. Does that make sense? Do you see how that script of, I don't want to give my home away, did I address it?
Yes.
Well, what do you know about my house, about value? Did I address it? This guy doesn't, you know, I'm not sure if this guy knows what he's doing. Did I address it? You guys with me? We need to incorporate our ability to combat fears. Next point, apprehensions. People have apprehensions. I think it was Karen earlier about the elderly couple when she said that they're really nervous. They have apprehensions. They have these apprehensions of not wanting to move too quickly, right? So there's apprehensions, there's subtleties, not knowing if it's the right time to sell, not knowing if it's the right time to buy. So what ends up happening is you meet him at an open house or they're a referral, you talk to him once, right? And after you talk to him once, you know, you call them like 15 times and they're ignoring every single call. You know, have you ever called a salesperson and said, I want to buy something? You decide not to buy it, and then they're calling you 15 times and you're complaining about why they keep bugging you. There's like 3 people. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Yes.
The reason why is there's buyer reluctance, right? Right? Those are apprehensions as well. How well are we at addressing apprehensions? How well we are putting our clients' fingers on the pulse of the market. Is our market going to change soon? Yes or no?
Yes.
Are we out there articulating it and helping them build a sense of urgency so that way if they don't take your advice, it's not your fault? Does that make sense? Next piece is objection. We need to be able to insert in our presentation ways to manage fears, manage apprehensions, and address objections before they come up. Let me ask you a question. If you're able to do that, is that building value, yes or no? Can the internet replace you, yes or no? No. Perfect. Next point. I'm excited. Can you tell? Just a slight bit of enthusiasm. I'm Italian and Portuguese. You get me talking, you can't get me to stop. Statistics there. Sales statistics. Talks about follow-up. I'm not going to go over all of it because of time restraints, but the bottom line is 80% of all sales happen between the 5th and 12th contact. 80%. 80%. Over the last couple of years, I'm selling homes for people I've been talking to for 3 and 4 years. Their dog died, their hamster died, their goldfish got swallowed by their cat. I mean, we're going through everything, right? 3 or 4 years. And you know, would you guys agree follow-up is difficult?
Yes.
Because they know why you're calling, right? They know why you're calling. Would you guys agree that prospecting is easier than follow-up? Let me ask that again. Would you guys agree that prospecting is easier than follow-up?
Yes.
Why?
Because you don't
Because
know
you're
that.
talking over and over again. I've been talking to you since 2015. Just sell your home, man. Right? Right? But follow-up. 12 contacts. Well, Joey, what CRM do you use? I'm a high D. I don't even know what CRM stands for. Right? Well, you know, what's the best CRM? Well, the one you use. What system do you use? The one you use. Mine is like the county records. Now pay attention. This is wisdom. The county records, and it says 3/15/19 LV left voicemail. Next one, and then I just do these circles, and my assistant comes in and does all these beautiful spreadsheets. Guys, it's just simple. Just keep calling them. the follow-up, 80% of all sales happen after the 5th or 12th con. Well, this is too basic. Our business is really basic. It's still about getting belly to belly. It's still about helping people move forward. You guys with me?
Yes.
Let's keep moving. Reprogram your mind to ask questions. What does that mean, Joey? Reprogram your mind to ask questions. Are we asking a lot of questions? Well, I've heard this before. Yeah, but how well are we? We said earlier the average agent sells how many homes a year? 2, 3, and I remember I told you I was going to give extra bonus, 3 to 4. Remember we said earlier? The challenge of that is we haven't built the muscle of asking questions and constantly peeling. Because as you peel, what are you doing? You're writing them down the road of self-discovery. What's your name? Dan has an idea when Dan says he wants to sell his home. He has an idea. But Dan is uncertain about if selling is the right time. So I got to unpeel, and keep asking, well, Dan, why do you want to move? Well, you know, my wife keeps giving me a hard time. You know what they say, Joey, a happy life starts with a happy wife. You know what? That's a good point. Got divorced 5 years ago. I never got that point. But thank you for reminding me. That's the point you need to work on. So I keep asking. As the more and more I dig and ask him, he begins to sell himself on his own ideas. Somebody said this earlier, Delia, I think. We want to help people get out of their own way. I want to help you as real estate agents, us as real estate agents, get out of our own way. And the best way we get out of our own way is we make it about them and not about us. I would write that down. Make it about them and not about us. Make sense? So, restaurant example. When I go to a restaurant and somebody says, hi, how are you? And I said, I'm doing great. I look at their name tag and I say, Dan, I'm doing great. How you doing? Dan's a waiter. Dan goes, what would you like today? I said, Dan, there's a lot of things on this menu. What are the top 2 things that you like? Well, you know what? I love the chicken cacciatore and the lasagna. Well, is it Dan or Don? Don, let me ask you a question. Don, I can't eat both of those. Out of those 2, which one do you recommend? The lasagna is amazing. Okay, put me down. Well, Don, Joey, what would you like to eat with the lasagna? Well, what do you recommend? Well, you want alcohol? Don, come. You know, I'm Italian, so I got to throw my hands around. You know, so, Don, what do you think? He says, the house wine is really good. It's not the most expensive one, but it's really good for your money. Perfect. Let's do the house wine. Well, what would you like for dessert? And I do the same thing. What am I doing? I'm continually refining the muscle of asking questions. Don knows the menu inside and out. I want a predictable result. Does that make sense? So if I go to a restaurant and I make it about them and not about me, get an idea what's the right thing to eat, right? Then I'm going to ensure the possibility of having the best experience. Yes or no?
Yes.
Do you think your clients want that too?
Yes.
Are you digging deep? Or do you want to go through 2 surgeries like I did? Right? You know, the funny thing is, remember, let me go back to my story. I'm a high D. I already warned you guys earlier. So as I'm getting back to the house, boy, I'm really bad at getting scattered. As I get back to the house, I haven't even taken the painkiller yet, right? As I'm getting ready to sit down, I'm bracing myself, the pain is so hard, I hear in my head, this is a great story to talk about. Leave me alone. I'm in unbearable pain. Does that make sense? But the bottom line is, I don't want to go through 2 surgeries. Guys, you guys are selling somebody's most valuable asset. Are we skilled enough to do it? Make sense? Let's keep moving. Restaurant example, you guys got fortune in the follow-up. I think we got the picture, right? 5 to 12 contacts. Guys, please come back in the room. I know you're thinking about all the clients that you lost because you only called them twice. I get it. Get over it. Let's move forward. It is March. I know March is a tough month. You know why March is a tough month? Because the resolutions already fell off. Yes or no? Am I the only one? Am I the only honest person? No. Let me ask that again. March is a tough month because what? A lot of our resolutions. One hand, one honest person. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Amen. 2. Got it? Keep moving. Increase your ability to close each sale more effectively. Guide your clients down the road of. Guide your clients down the road of
Success.
Decision.
Guide your clients down the road of self-discovery. Well, why didn't he just tell me? Because I want to make you wrestle for it. So that way the next time I come out, which is May 8th, we're having a training. Old Republic Home Protection is bringing me in for a 4-hour high impact training. Because they're bringing me in, I am going to do it for an insanely great price. Why? I want to give so much. Because when I give so much, I know in the essence that I'm living out what I'm called to be. Are you with me? So they're calling me out May 8th. I'd write that down. If you like what you hear and you want more, May 8th, I'll be here for $49. If you go to the back table where Old Republic Home Protection can share a little bit more about with you guys. Next thing, setting expectations for the home and buying process. How well are we at setting expectations? Write it down. Next to that, on scale 1 to 10, how well are we at setting expectations for our home and buying process? How well are we? If we sell 3 to 4 homes a year, we can't be that good. Right? Guys, remember I told you earlier, you might not agree. This might be a point where you don't agree, and it's okay. As long as you got something else in that buffet line that you like. How well are we at setting expectations? Just one honest person. I just want one. How well are we at setting expectations?
Not great.
Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you know, just now that you've decided to buy a home, everybody in your world is going to become experts in the field of real estate. Your hairdresser is going to become an expert. Your cab driver is going to be an expert. Your pool man is going to become an expert. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I call that Uncle and Auntie Jed. Write that down. Uncle and Auntie Jed. The story I like to tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is, you know, Uncle Jed is going to be flipping hamburgers at the barbecue pit. Auntie Jed's going to be making the salads and the french fries. And Uncle Jed's going to say, Don, what are you up to? And Don's going to say, oh, I'm buying a house. And all of a sudden, Uncle Jed just begins to say, this is a bad time to buy. Use my realtor. Use this, use that. And all of a sudden, the real estate agent's calling Don. Don's not answering the phone. 15 calls later, 4 years later, hamsters died, everybody else has died, still haven't bought a home. Right? Because Uncle Jed showed up and messed the deal up. What if I told you that Uncle Jed was going to show up? And then Uncle Jed shows up. Do I have more credibility then? And I'm not even there. How well are we at setting expectations? Do you think Uncle Jed messes up a lot of our deals? If somebody finds Uncle Jed, I'm going to beat him with my shoe. You guys with me? So how well are we at setting expectations? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, since you've decided to sell, everyone in your family members, a lot of them have become experts. But I want you to know I can back up everything I'm telling you by 110%. So if there's ever a time when Uncle Jed shows up and he tells you anything that conflicts what I'm saying, please bring it to my attention. You know what I get? Joey, I know who Uncle Jed is. That's who I get. I'm the only one that thinks that's funny? Joey, I know who my Uncle Jed is. It's my mom. Oh, man. Well, what do you mean? Well, I want to buy a house, Joey. My mom tells me to get a loan. My uncle tells me to pay cash. What do I do? Well, the problem is the mom is my client and the uncle's my client, right? So I go through this whole thing of setting expectations of saying, well, you know, you have $750,000, you're 21 years old. Your mom probably is recommending that you don't get a loan because she's saying his mom is Uncle Jed. Mom's probably recommending you get a loan, you don't pay cash because you can just use other people's money. Just do 20% down. Well, who's right, Joey? Well, that's a good question. Tell me more about that. So I'm peeling more. You know why I say tell me more about that? Because I have no idea what I'm going to say. Write that down. When I don't know what I'm going to say, you say, tell me more about that. Tell me more about it. Works every time. Works every time. You know how to drive? Tell me more about that. It works every time, right? So I'm asking him because I have no idea what I'm going to say. I don't want to ruin my client. My client, his uncle, I've done like $4 or $5 million worth of deals for. The mom, I've done like 4 deals for, and I want them all. Does that make sense? So I'm asking more and more, and I said, you know what? I told him, I said, Christian, you know, I think they're both right. Because mom wants you to just have the 20%, and then that way you can use the rest of the money. But then if you do the 20%, whatever interest you're paying on the home, we got to make sure we take the rest of your money and make money on that. Does that make sense? So I think your mom's right. But your uncle's right too. Because your uncle's thinking at 21 years old, why pay interest? Does that make sense? So I go, your uncle's right because he just wants you to take that money and not have a mortgage. You guys with me? Talk about Uncle Jed. Uncle Jed's huge. But he will mess your deals up. You know what I mean? We don't need help messing our deals up, do we? I know, you might not like me, but that's okay, that's okay. If you don't like me, May 8th will not work. Because you're just going to get more of me, 4 times as much as me. Next point, to be more effective at communication skills. Are we still filling in blanks? Or did I, am I still, I want to make sure that I'm not messing up and getting distracted because I do that sometimes. Yeah, fears, apprehensions, and objections. Come from curiosity and not from judgment. Do I sound curious?
Yes.
Am I curious? I ask you guys the same question like 15 times in a row. Am I curious?
Yes.
We need to become more and more curious until what? When does the curiosity stop when I keep asking questions? What do they have to do to tell me to stop?
Tilt their head.
Tilt their head and do what?
Never thought
about that. Make sense? Oh my gosh, this guy is getting in my head. This guy is getting in my head. Get me out of here. Sorry. Okay, so come from curiosity and not judgment. Next. These 3 words in perfect alignment will increase your chances to close each and every time. Number 1, attitude. Joey, I've heard that before. Yes, you have. I told you earlier, about 3 hours ago, I told you earlier the message doesn't change. It's the approach to delivering it, right? There's attitude. What is your attitude about the clients that are in front of you? Is the market bad? Are they being difficult? Are they not wanting you to do it? Are they not wanting to be led by you? Right? What's your attitude about it? Is your attitude about it that we're taking responsibility why they're not pricing their home right? Or is your attitude saying they're the difficult person? Can I change it if they're the difficult person? Can I change it if they're a difficult person?
Yes.
No, I can't. The only thing I can change is my approach to working with difficult people. Make sense? My attitude, there's 2 different kinds of people in this world, okay? One person, when they walk in the room brightens. The other person, when they leave the room brightens. What's our attitude? Make sense? What is our attitude? Number 2, you like that, huh? You want to say that one again?
Yeah.
Good. Wait, you guys, I have to bring some laughter. Because if I bring laughter, I bring you back in the room. Because you float away, we talk about Uncle Jed, and then now my sister, she was Uncle Jed that last time. When I wanted to buy the Tesla, she convinced me not to, and then she went to buy a Tesla. Right? Come back. Please come back. Next 2, what is our approach? What is our approach? Are we approaching people? Are we approaching people with service? Are we approaching people because we want to serve them at the absolute highest level? What is our approach? Is our approach to get a commission check? Have we not been a good steward in our finances and we're trying to keep our lights on or pay our mortgages? Some of us in the room are in that place. Right? What is our approach? Because the bottom line is if we approach with the highest possible level, I can tell you guys right now, you will be given in your mind, downloaded at the right moment, the right scripts, the right approaches, and the right dialogues. I am so not impressed with me. I am nothing to be impressed about, but boy, I'm impressed with flows through me. Make sense? What is our approach? Is to serve people at the highest level. If it's not, that's the shift in your business. Make sense? Next word, expectation.
What was the first word?
Attitude, approach, expectation. We're on the third word, expectation. I'm running out of time. I only have 3 hours left. We got to keep moving. What do we expect? Do we expect to help them see something in a way they've never seen it? What do we expect? Do we expect to get the contract signed, or do we expect to discover whether or not we can help them with their needs? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what clients like you have found useful in the past is we meet in my office, I'll go over in depth what's going on in the market, help you build consumer confidence. And in that meeting, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're going to have a clear idea whether or not you feel comfortable with me. And secondly, I'll have a clear idea whether I can help you what you're looking for. We're going to discover whether we're a match. Who can say no to that script? Who can say no to that? Let's get together. Let me share something with you. My expectation is to educate you and serve you. And at the end, if you feel comfortable, we're going to move forward. If I can serve you, we're going to move forward. Make sense? What do we expect? Next page. Come on, guys. I only got 3 hours left. I got to keep moving. Tips on setting expectations for the sales process. My friend Keith is over here, so I haven't been giving enough love to this side of the room, and I'm really sorry about that. But Keith just left the room so I can come back over here a little closer. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Keith. I didn't see you there. Tips on setting expectations. I'm going to give you the most powerful script you will ever find in the real estate industry. The most powerful script. But not only is it script in the real estate industry, I believe it's the most powerful script you can ever use to get somebody right down the road of self-discovery. Are you ready? Get in ready position. Get in ready position.
Ready.
1 year from now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you've sold your home and you've moved on. What has to happen during that process for you to feel convinced that you've hired the right person for the job of selling your home? Let me say that again. I'm getting all excited. I had too much coffee. 1 year from now, you've sold your home and you've moved on. What has to happen during that process for you to feel you made the right decision in hiring me? And then what do?
Quiet.
Shut up.
You shut up. Thank you. One honest, you shut up. And then you know what they're going to do? Can you say that again? That's what they're going to say. Oh, you know what? I understand. See, Mr. Seller, you've sold your home, you've moved on. We're about a year down the road. I'm at your home welcoming party with all my business cards so I can meet all your friends. What has to happen during that process for you to feel you made the right decision in hiring me? And then what do? They tell you what they're looking for. They tell you their interpretation of what the experience is supposed to be like. You guys with me? Guys, we're making it way too much about us and not enough about them. You guys with me? They're going to give you everything you need to tailor that presentation to meet what they need. Make sense? But you know the problem is we get to the appointment. We have our fluffy little presentation binder, 14 karat gold little clips, 3-ring binder. We're all excited, but we're making it too much about us and not enough about them. Because if you ask enough questions, you ask that, well, I want somebody that's going to be on top of it. I want somebody to give me advice. I want somebody to make sure that I get the lowest possible cost for my home. You guys are really sleepy. You guys with me on that question? And then you can flip it over to the other one, right? 1 year from now, you bought a home, you moved on. What has to happen during that buying process for you to feel like you made the right decision by hiring me? Make sense? Yeah. Guys, how many thousands of agents are in our board? 6,000 agents, and there's 100 people in this room. Give yourselves a hand. This is a step of you working harder on you than you do at your work. Would you guys agree? I'm giving you guys principles in success, but I'm also giving you principles on how to work on you, right? I'm giving you a different approach. Is this a different approach?
Yes.
Is my attitude a little bit different than most trainers?
Yes.
Do you think I've done this presentation at least twice?
Yes.
Do you think mastery is important to me?
Yes.
Write this down. Mastery is a process and not a destination. Mastery is a process and not a destination. Next point. Speak to what they expect. What experience are they expecting? Those are 2 lines. Right underneath the most powerful script, speak to what they expect. You ask them the questions 1 year from now, then speak to what they expect. You guys with me? I had a seller one time, I sold a home, and there was a problem with the roof. It was like $500. The roofer owed me a favor. I didn't even call the seller and tell her about the roof problem. I just got it fixed. She was mad at me. Joey, I found out the roofer came. And you had the roof fixed and didn't tell me. She was mad. And I'm sorry, tell me more about that. I had no idea what to say, right? She was upset with me because I didn't tell her that I got the roof fixed. So the roofer owed me a favor. Instead of charging her $500, I get it done. But you know what I realized? I was making it too much about me. And if I would have asked her more and more questions, I would have realized she wants to know about every detail. Every detail. Make sense? Next piece. When you've done the road work. We've been talking about road work all the time. This is road work. Work harding on you, then you do yourself. Learning the fears, learning the apprehensions, digging into the personal growth. That's the road work. The road work is a process. The road work is daily. You're doing road work every daily. Are you with me? I was up at 3:30 this morning getting ready to be here to make sure that I wasn't married to my content, but I was ready to deliver what you needed. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I started out with going out there and talking to you guys because I know my craft enough to say I can come out here and I can ask almost any questions and I can find some wisdom in my library because of my commitment to my process and mastery. I can give you something. All of you that gave me your suggestions today on what you wanted, am I giving you? Am I delivering?
Yes.
One honest person. You guys with me?
Yes.
So how well are we at our craft? When you have done the road work and are committed to the service, right? First blank, road work. He's going too fast. I only have 2 hours left. I got to hurry up. When you've done the road work and are committed to the service of other people, the right scripts, ideas, and approaches will show up at the right time. That's that next line. You want to say it again? The SCs in the room, those are the folks that love to check off boxes and love everything organized. They love lists. I can't even find my list. I don't even have a list because I can't find it. The SCs are like, he didn't give me enough lines. If he would do this manual over again, he needs to make the lines bigger. I'm sorry. When you have done the road work and are committed to the service of other people, the right scripts, ideas, and approaches will show up at the right time. Okay? Oh boy, I might lose you guys. Somebody shut the door. Don't let them escape. This is where it's going to get good. What commitment am I willing to make today that will change the course of 2019 and the rest of my career? What commitment am I willing to make today to change the course of 2019 and the rest of my career? I'm just going to give you some ideas for commitments. Just giving you ideas. I told you, you might not agree with it, you might not like my ideas, but I think these ideas are what's keeping us. Makes sense. Number one, commitment to being uncomfortable. Commitment to being uncomfortable. I don't do a lot of 1 hour talks. If you ask me to teach for 6 hours, I'm comfortable. You ask me to teach for like 30 minutes or an hour, I'm freaked out. What do I talk about? What do they need? Right? Plus I want to hear myself talk a little bit longer than an hour. You know? Next point. Commitment to pursue mastery. Is mastery important? Right? Next commitment. Commitment to personal growth regimen. Guys, you can work harder and harder and harder, and you're not going to get anywhere. You have to work harder on you than you do on your work. Your commitment to the personal growth regimen. Next, commitment to becoming a master at your own craft. Commitment to being a master at your own craft. So when somebody asks you a question, you're able to do what it is that you need to do. You guys with me? Yep. Next, commitment to being coachable. Commitment to being coachable. Next, commitment to staying the course. Commitment to staying the course. Guys, there are some of you right now, like I said earlier, that are struggling financially. There's some of you that are struggling with depression or discouragement. I'm not asking you to raise your hand, because that's a hard thing to raise your hand for, yes or no. Right? Some of you are struggling with if real estate is still for me, right? Or you've been created to do more. Am I with you, or am I the only person in the room that struggles with some of this stuff? Right? Some of you are struggling with the idea that you don't want to be working this hard in the next 5 to 10 years. Right? You guys with me?
Yep.
Are you deciding that you want to build a team, diversify your income, plan for the next transition? Whatever it is, what commitment are you willing to make? What commitment are you willing to make? That's something you have to decide. We got distractions, right? I think distractions now are more predominant than they ever have been, right? Before it was like cartoons on Saturdays, now you can see it anytime. Saturday mornings between 8 and noon. Get up really early in the morning, have my Cheerios, actually it was Cocoa Pebbles. And then I would watch cartoons, right? We got a lot of distractions, right? We got emails, we got social media. Well, I'm still here, I'm not getting distracted to the SCs, okay? Email, social media, phone ringing, tea kettle. Only a few of us in the audience use a tea kettle, I get it. I'm making it about you and not about me. I don't use a tea kettle, but some of you do. Number 2, alarm clocks. We don't use alarm clocks. Well, some of you do. Some of you do. News, TV, texting, a lot of distractions. But the question I have for you guys is, what are you doing to avoid those? What are you doing to avoid those distractions? Morning times are the absolute best. Write this down. Morning, the winds in the morning will whisper wisdom to you. The winds in the morning will whisper wisdom to you. Let me tell you this. My best, the wisdom in the winds in the mornings will whisper wisdom to you. My best work has happened between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. Those are books I've written. Those are the trainings that I do have been written in those hours, right? Because I make it a point to be quiet, to give myself some time to think. about what direction I need to do. Guys, in order to create a big life for yourself, in order to succeed at the highest level, you need to have some quiet time. Well, I can't do that. I have kids. I have kids too. I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I love them, but sometimes I don't like them because they drive me crazy. Right? And me and my significant other were so excited to come to the training. We're working for an hour, and then we have time alone. We're free. What are we going to do? You guys with me? How much quiet time do you guys have for yourselves? I'm going to do a quick exercise. I want you guys to close your eyes, clear your mind. I'm going to do a quick exercise. Okay? That means your eyes have to be closed. I'm not going to do anything inappropriate. I'm just going to read a quote. Relax. Quiet your mind. Close your eyes. Almost everybody's there. Okay? Here we go. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy. The chance to draw back concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself. Providence moves to a whole stream of events, meetings, and material systems which no man or woman could have dreamt would come their way. Whatever you can do or begin you can do, boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. Whatever image, whatever word came to your mind right now, you guys can open your eyes. Whatever image or word came to your mind, that's your next step. That's your next piece. You guys with me? You don't tell anybody, that's it. Some of you got the word bold. Some of you got the word just do it. Some of you got the word get out of my way. Whatever word or image, I would write that down right now. You don't need to sift through. You don't need a fancy CRM. That's your next step. That's the piece that's keeping you from having an amazing 2019. You guys with me? My name is Joey Satariano, and thank you so much for your time today.
All right, Joey. All right, so we do have evaluations for you guys to fill out. Please fill that out. We'd like your input when we put these lunch and learns together. We do have you in mind in regards to making sure that we bring value to the table. If you guys thought there was some value this morning, please make some noise for Joey again, coming all the way down from Sacramento. So since we are getting pretty close to the end of our time, because we do want to respect your time, but if you want to stay afterwards, Joey's got a table set up back there with some of his goodies. And in fact, how many of you would like to take Joey home with you today? Right? Some of you want to leave him behind, but some of you want to take him with you. All right, so we're actually going to do a raffle. I'm going to sponsor this.